Well, look up the word crossroads and you'll find three definitions: a place where roads intersect, a point at which a vital decision must be made, and the main center of activity. And all three certainly apply when you talk about Oklahoma's trucking industry.
If trucking stops, Oklahoma stops. America stops. It's that vital.
Jim Newport is the executive director of the Oklahoma Trucking Association and says most enterprising industries work on an at-need or just-in-time basis. So if these wheels stop rolling, so does everything else.
If you think about fuel at your local gas station, you think about the groceries on the shelf, most of those are going to run between a 1 to 3 day supply, and they're out.
You hopefully in the right lane.
Meet Bob Peterson, president of Melton Truck Lines.
Whether it's the bricks behind me or the TVs, it was all moved by truck. And a lot of times trains will move heavy industrial goods to an area, but then a truck takes it and delivers it to its final location.
Melton operates more than 1,200 trucks, shipping loads from Mexico to Canada, with some trucks on the road as long as 6 months at a time.
We think it's important to the state of Oklahoma and to the country simply because it's essential if you want to get goods moved.
And while Melton is one of the state's largest private carriers, they're far from alone. Oklahoma is home to over 12,000 trucking companies, the majority smaller mom-and-pop operations. At Princess Transport in Durant, Danella Miller and her husband Chris use local owner-operators to help deliver sand to regional foundries. And just like the national carriers, Princess Transport's entire business model is built on timeliness.
If they say we need you there between 6 a.m. and 11 a.m., that's what they mean.
If it's not here on time, then we can't produce what our stores are selling, so we can't service our customers.
Roger Moore is with the tile shop that produces tile for showrooms across the country.
It will halt. If I've ran out, production will halt completely until Princess is able to deliver.
And for companies like Melton, that means hitting deadlines all around the nation.
We call it just in time. As companies have reduced their inventories, they rely more on trucks to be on time. And so all of our trucks are satellite tracked, so we know where they are at any given point in time. A driver's day is a long one and a hard one. It's exceptionally competitive for trucking companies and for hiring of truck drivers.
Which is why Melton has an entire staff of recruiters, hiring only one of every 200 applicants.
My biggest business challenge today is finding safe, reliable truck drivers.
And he's not alone.
The average age of the truck driver today seems to be moving more towards the late 40s and early 50s. So their longevity, particularly if you add in any kind of health issues, and we hope not, their longevity is somewhat limited. So the recruitment of new drivers, fresh blood if you will, is a real challenge.
So we're looking for drug-free, we're looking for safe driving records, we're looking for dependability.
I would definitely say basic math, locating information, reading comprehension, those are all really important. But in addition to that, they also need good customer service skills because they're in contact with our customers every time they bring a load. Well, and I refer to them as life skills because there's nothing soft about that. Good work ethic, being dependable, being responsible.
Good truck drivers need to be patient. You know, if you can imagine driving an 80,000-pound rig in today's traffic, in the snow, you have to be patient. If you're the typical guy that honks a horn every 5 seconds, you're not going to like being a truck driver.
Not to mention the hours.
And the job is hard. You're gone from home for 2 to 3 weeks. And how do you maintain a marriage and raise children and all that kind of thing?
You can make good wages as a truck driver. It comes with some price, and that is time away from home. So that's kind of a rub with family, and everybody knows it. So it's not necessarily an easy life, but it pays well.
A life on the road that's not for everyone, which is why some truckers choose to work for short-haul carriers, which takes us back to Princess Transport.
What makes that so special to us is that we can provide jobs, truck driving jobs, here locally in this area, and also come back the same day to where the driver is able to come home and on a regular schedule instead of over-the-road trucking, which they're out for 2 or 3 weeks. Our employees are here locally. They live here locally, and they get to come home every day. And so that's a very special thing.
They can take a load or 2 loads a day and be home in the evenings and on the weekends. Family is a huge focus for us, and we try to work with our owner-operators so that they can spend that quality time with their family in the evenings and on the weekends, and that's worked out beautifully for us.
And earn a living that is more than $10,000 above the state's median income.
The wages related to all of the trucking industry, that's going to be everybody, truck drivers, shops, the whole bit, is going to be north of $3.2 billion with a B, billion dollars in the state of Oklahoma. That's 2012 statistics. So in order to keep that economy moving, we're going to need drivers.
Projections are the trucking industry will grow between 20 and 30% over the next 10 to 15 years.
Think about that. Think about the trucks that are on the road that you see right now today and add roughly a third more. I'm rounding up, but if we say 30%, let's add a third more in the next 10 years. That means consumer demand is still going to grow. Hopefully the economy will grow with that to meet that demand, but that's going to be more trucks on the road, more drivers, more jobs. So workforce is just a tremendous issue. Where do those people come from?
What could that mean for our infrastructure in terms of highways, bridges?
To give you a little bit of perspective, trucks and the trucking industry will pay, I'm rounding up, 40% of all road use taxes. It's 39% something, so I rounded up. They'll pay 40% of all fees that are paid for infrastructure. Yet they represent about 2% of the registered motoring public. We're paying our fair share.
In fact, some trucking companies like Melton would even like to pay more.
Actually, our industry has been in favor of raising the diesel tax for years. The United States Secretary of Transportation was here with Senator Inhofe, and I said, please raise my taxes. Because the roads in many cases are terrible. And so it's 2 things. It causes congestion, which adds to pollution, which makes my driver's job less desirable. And it makes us slower in delivering our goods. And so we're big behind infrastructure.
I'll give kudos and credit to the state of Oklahoma. They actually started an aggressive infrastructure building process well over a decade ago now. And much of the nation has now been trying to follow that. So kudos to Oklahoma. We still have a long way to go, but we're ahead of the curve nationally. So that's a good thing, and that is important, I'll say it again, to the trucking industry and to all of us as consumers.
Well, a proposal to increase Oklahoma's fuel taxes was rejected this past legislative session. In fact, the bill never even came out of committee. Oklahoma's fuel tax is currently 17 cents per gallon for gas and 14 cents for diesel. Now, the proposed bill would have increased the taxes on gas and diesel by 3 cents a gallon and would go uncollected if fuel prices rose above $3 a gallon. Now, supporters of the failed measure say the increase would have freed up state revenue now used to pay for road and bridge construction, with every 1 cent increase generating about $28 million in new road dollars. Well, Oklahoma is currently tied for 3rd for the lowest fuel taxes in the U.S., and that certainly helps Oklahomans enjoy some of the lowest fuel prices in the nation. But it does come at a cost. In fact, you may feel it every time you get out on the road. A few years back, we brought you a story about the impact inflation and technology is having on how we fund our roads and bridges, and it's still just as true today.
America, can we afford the road ahead? Let's look back to see where we're going. In 1980, all those preppies, valley girls, and yuppies drove about 18 miles a day. They already complained about traffic. But over the next 32 years, more cars and more drivers joined them on the road, driving more miles on basically the same roads they did in 1980. Here's the fact. Today, we're driving nearly twice as many miles as we did in 1980, but we've added only 6% more miles of public roads. We spend more than twice as much time in traffic. That makes us less productive. Cars that stand in traffic burn more gas, adding to pollution. Those overworked roads break up and damage your car. As for the future, by the government's own estimates, we're short in keeping up with the roads we do have. It would be like driving the same car you did in 1980 and not keeping up with all the repairs.
Now, if you'd like to see how we stack up with other states and other countries when it comes to fuel taxes, I do have that streaming under our value-added section, as well as Bob Peterson's best advice on keeping everyone safe when sharing the road with the big rigs, all at okhorizon.com.